Welcome to this edition of When the Biomass Hits the Wind Turbine, a discussion of sustainable living and what that means to you and me. Coming to you from WOUB Radio, Studio B, I'm Jay Warmke.
And I'm Annie Warmke.
You are Annie Warmke, that is correct. And today we're going to talk about the right to repair, or it's broke and there ain't no fixing it. How's that?
Yeah.
The system is broke and there ain't
that's
no
the problem.
it.
Well, I was just thinking about my grandpa that I knew who could repair anything and make anything. He would think that's hysterical. But my other grandfather was born in 1865. And I was thinking how stupid he would think it is that it's illegal to repair something, or you buy soil. Who buys soil?
Okay, well let's back up a little bit, avoiding your grandparents for a moment. And I mean, I've heard this discussion before about the right to repair, but it seems so counterintuitive to me. I can't imagine we don't have the right to like fix stuff. Is there somebody walking in and saying, "Don't do that, don't repair that thing"?
Right. Well, so those of us who are interested in repairing things, there's a group called Right to Repair, and it's a movement, a legislative, also wave, as they call it, and a great idea that says that people who buy durable products like mobile phones, tractors, dishwashers, etc., should be allowed to get them fixed by someone other than the manufacturer of the equipment. They call that OEM. And so the problem then.
So they're basically saying that it's okay to repair things as long as I'm the one who's doing it.
No, they don't want you to do it either, and that's what.
No, I don't mean I mean the manufacturer being I.
Oh, the manufacturer can provide that at a cost.
Right.
Usually quite a cost. So just let me give a little background here. So repair shops, particularly I don't have data from the US because we apparently don't collect that, but in the UK, in the United Kingdom, they have a 90% success rate in mending easier items like toasters and small kitchen appliances.
Yeah, just stick a fork in it, when it's plugged in.
Well, that's what you did, yes. But also they can repair laptops. Only about 60% of the time they can fix them.
Mm-hmm.
And they report that fixing a digital radio that's worth $100 costs about 10 cents for the part.
Yeah.
So there's the rub right there, because manufacturers want to have control over all of what you are buying, and they want that control because when they build it so it does break, because then you have to buy another one. And they also build it so in some cases they're building it like tractors, so you have to engage them not just to repair it, but you don't even have the code to get into the computer because they don't want you to have access to their trade secrets.
So this is more than just, the warranty might be null and void if somebody else opens
that's an
it
old
up
fashioned. That's right. So so BAS, there's this group called BAS Share and Repair in England that has repaired 3,000 items in 5 years, and 60% of them were electrical or electronic, like electric kettles and radios and lamps. And they also lend out household items, and they run workshops on how to maintain and repair your own equipment. And
wouldn't that be novel?
Well, right? It's illegal. It's illegal in the United States, in several states,
to repair your own stuff.
Yes.
How would they enforce such a thing?
Well, I think they can figure it out if it's computerized, because everything is tracked. And they're going to track your data, and they're going to know when you're using it, how you're using it, how long you're using it, how much fuel you're using.
So counterintuitive. I mean, one of the things that that's frustrating to, I think, a lot of us is oftentimes you get this thing, it's fine, you want to fix it, and you take it in and somebody says, well, it'll cost you $200 to repair a $50. If you buy it new, it's $50.
All right. But what's the true cost? And that's the question I have to come back to. But let me just drill down just a little bit further. in that there, even though maybe we don't have very many repair shops in the US, although lately I've been seeing some that say we repair electrical appliances and things like that.
Mhm.
But there are lots and lots and lots of YouTube videos that show you how to repair. There are things called pop-up repair cafes and blogs. And then, of course, the old tradition of reusing items, that is like make do and mend kind of
So this is
philosophy.
this is sort of countering the planned obsolescence kind of situation that we found
That's
ourselves
right.
in, where they were making things, designing them to break, then you have to replace them, you
Yes,
know.
within 6 months. But here's the thing, in the UK anyway, there's a company called Curry's, like the curry, the
Chicken curry.
yeah. And they have fixed 860,000 laptops in a year.
Mhm.
TVs and phones as well are in that 860,000. And they forecast a 10% rise this year as their customers' budgets come under pressure. There's one of the driving forces. And also, people are demanding refurbished electrical goods because they don't want to have to keep buying things. First of all, because maybe money's tight, but secondly, they're beginning to realize that there's not an endless amount of resources to keep producing these
Well, if you
items.
repair it, I mean, that's reuse, repair, it's a lot better than
Repurpose. Hmm.
recycling something. They'd say, "Oh,
Right.
well, this laptop case could be recycled." No, it's better if you just fix
Right. Well,
it,
you're
keep
not
using
using
it.
any energy. In
Mhm.
recycling, you're going to upscale or downscale it somehow in the process, and it's going to use a lot more energy. But here's the challenges. So one of the biggest hurdles in the mending movement is the fact that modern technology isn't designed to be fixed, as you just pointed out.
Right, right.
And so there's a leading online repair resource called iFixit that gives reviews on repairable, how repairable a gadget is, and that's really valuable if you're going to buy something. So
Sure.
I think it then becomes kind of a rating, because if I know I can have it repaired or I can repair it myself, I might even be willing to pay a little bit more money for it, because for me anyway, once I get used to using something electronic, I don't really want to switch to another one because I don't want to learn
Sure.
how to use that one.
Well, and it's so annoying. Even something like I found with my phone, I couldn't like open it to access the battery. It
Right.
used to be, oh, the
Right.
battery stopped working. Well, let's put a new battery in it. Now it's like I can't
Well,
can't do
Apple
it.
does that with their AirPods. You can't open it and replace the battery. You just have to throw it away.
Well, that's annoying.
Well, it's worse than annoying.
It's
It's a
bad for the
terrible.
planet. It's bad for your
So,
mental health.
yes,
Yeah,
yes. So the thing is though that it all comes down to greed.
yeah.
It really does come down to greed, because these companies, these major manufacturers, have found themselves to facing legal obligations to allow, for example, with tractors. So tractors today cost be more than $500,000 a piece.
You mean the big farm
Yeah, the big
tractors?
farm tractors for the industrial farms. And well, I think even regular tractors now have computers in them, and
Hmm.
that's all that controls everything about that machine. And so if the computer malfunctions, you know, of course you can shut it off and turn it back on, maybe that works, but most of the time it's not going to. So they don't have the code to.
Reboot your
That's right,
tractor.
reboot your tractor, but you don't have the code, you don't have the password to get into the computer, because
Sure.
they don't want you, messing with it, because they say they risk losing control over their product. So you might figure out their secrets. Well, people figure out secrets all the time. I mean, they can hack in. Lots of people can hack into most anything.
As long
So
as they're less than like 12.
the other problem is, if you need that piece of equipment because you earn money from it, or it's an emergency kind of piece of equipment, you have to wait on the manufacturer's repair person to show up. And that an initial show up for, I believe it was John Deere, was $950 for the guy to flip the switch on the computer. Yes, absolutely. And they waited 4 days in the middle of harvesting season, and they were then pushed back. This farmer was pushed back in the line to have his grain dried, and he had a huge loss from his crop because
Mhm.
he didn't have the ability to flip the switch.
Well, is this something that's is just a function of things becoming digitalized and computerized, or is this a conscious effort by the manufacturers to kind of try and augment their bottom line?
It is really just what you just said. So
Mhm.
the people, it's not just about software, it's about everything. Because for example, cars.
Take your hands off the table there.
I'm German, I have to use my
Uh-huh.
hands. Like with cars, I mean, this was announced probably 6 or 7 years ago and widely reported that they were going to not, you could go to a dealership and buy a car, and it's not really going to, you know, uh, navigate a different price, negotiate a different price, because they're just going to raise the price of parts. And if you have a warranty, you have to have it fixed with them
Sure.
or repaired or serviced with them. And they're just going to drive up their profit by charging for parts. And they don't want you to repair it
Well,
because,
that's one of the sort of the pushbacks with electric vehicles is because there are many fewer parts, many fewer moving parts,
mhm,
much less required routine maintenance. And so the dealers have been kind of trying to push back against the adoption of electric vehicles because their real profit margin is in the parts and repair,
yeah,
not necessarily in the initial sale
that's right.
of the product.
But the thing that's weird is they have this whole argument. These big companies have this whole argument, like Apple and Google and Microsoft, Tesla, John Deere, um, and they're saying they're really trying to protect the consumer's privacy and safety by providing. By not providing sensitive security information and equipment to just anyone who wants it, including the owner. So basically, you don't really own this.
Yeah,
You're borrowing it, and you are paying for the right to
that
borrow
sounds a
it.
little bit like the vice principal in your high school saying, I'm going to give you some paddling because it's for your own good." It's like
I heard that
it's
before. Not I
right,
didn't get
right.
paddled, but I heard that
Uh-huh.
before. So in 2020, the Democratic National Convention adopted the right to repair for agriculture, because they said that the Federal Trade Commission reported a lack of evidence provided by the manufacturers in support of their repair monopolies. And so, and Biden signed an executive order in June of that year, in support of that right to repair. But John Deere then went to court, and they tried to win against the farm, Farm Bureau. Lots of companies came, lots of small farmers and companies came in under this this fight, and what ended up happening was they lost. But they said they should have the right to hold on to the repair part of this, because there could be unsafe operation of their products. Um, the farmer could mess up the machine capabilities and performance. They could create illegal changes to emission controls. When did that matter to them? It would void warranties, and that would create a lack of transparencies to changes on resale, and a less than optimal customer
Yeah, well,
experience.
hopefully the judge said you guys are full of baloney here.
Yeah, well, basically they did.
Good.
And
Okay, well,
so,
let
but
me.
I want to
All right,
say
all
there
right, all
wasn't
right,
really a
all right,
finding. I remember
all right.
reading in the
They
Guardian.
left it sort of vague.
No, no, no. So they came out and they said, John Deere said, this is only John Deere. Nobody else came out and made an agreement with the Farm Bureau that they would go along with the right to repair unless the Farm Bureau came out and supported some other legislation that they didn't like. And the minute they supported that, this would be null and void.
Okay. All right. Well, let me inform you you are listening to When the Biomass Hits the Wind Turbine with Jay and
I
Annie
have to
Warmke,
have my hands.
coming to you from Studio B, WOUB Radio in Athens, Ohio, reminding you it is indeed the end of the world as we know it.
I guess okay.
Okay. Well, we'll repair it,
I
right?
know
We
it.
have the right to repair the world, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we're talking about weirdness in the world of things where apparently there is an effort on the part of a number of manufacturers to prohibit their items from being repaired, and so there has to be this counter movement to say basically, listen, I bought it, I want to fix it, and I don't want to send it to you. That's kind of the gist of the whole thing, right? I want to be able to go to a
Yes,
third
yes.
party and
Or
have
fix
them
it
fix it.
myself, or
Yeah.
fix it myself.
Uh-huh.
So the Association of Equipment Manufacturers, AEM, in coordination with Equipment Dealers Association, and this is around cars and vehicles and things. They came forward with a right to repair policy in 2021, and nothing happened. But the problem with it was that the policy just really didn't help the farmer or the car owner in any way, because they said, oh, we're going to um, give them 95% control over the product. And it's like, that's not the right to repair. So in 2011, Congress tried passing a right to repair law for car owners and independent servicers.
Has this really just been around vehicles? Yeah, I mean those are the
Well,
ones
no,
you're
because
citing.
the people, well, that's the information that's out there. There isn't much about Apple or Google or whatever. I think they're kind of hiding in the bushes right now. And so I do know there's a lot of complaining about, phone repair, and you do see phone repair shops and other electronic devices
Right.
being repaired, but it's not a broadly done thing. And a lot of times, like with phones, there's a special lock. So in order to repair it, you have to go back to the original manufacturer or whatever's on the phone, and you can't
Well, I
access
know
that.
with my phone, it was acting up, being annoying, and I took it in. We'll name let's just call this company Verizon for the sake of it, right? And I took it in there and I said, this thing is acting up. Is there something you can do? Can you reboot it? Can you fix it? Whatever. And the guy like looked at me and goes, "Oh, this is a really old phone. You just need to get a new one." I was like, "It's only 3 years old." And he goes, "Yeah, that's really old." And I was like, "Really? You're selling things at an exorbitant price with the understanding that they will be absolutely worthless in like 2 years?" I mean, that just strikes me as, yeah, I know. I'm
But
sitting in
before
my
it was
rocking chair saying, "Get off my lawn,"
well,
right?
no, but the idea though hasn't just been about phones for 2 years. That's kind of a long time. A lot of things have been 6 months, and
Yeah.
they don't even deny it.
But it's just it's one of those things where you just sort of have to go, you know what, this is the world has just gotten so insane where now you're spending $1,000 for a phone, and in 2 years you're supposed to spend another $1,000 for a
Or you
phone.
pay by the month.
Well, you don't really.
Yes, you do.
You
Anyway, I'm being
and it's
facetious.
on sale, so you're really
That's right.
saving
As
money,
my
right?
grandpa would say, it's always on sale.
Hmm.
Anyway, so I want to say that the real issue here is in terms of the manufacturers is digitization. You know what that
Digitization,
means?
well, yeah, you're just computerizing things.
Yeah. So what they're saying is, these tractors can drive in the field without a driver, because
Hmm.
and they actually hook these huge $1 million ones up to each other and just drag them along, or charging, the charging station locator for Tesla, or the driverless car that Tesla is trying to march out. And they're saying we can't give up
Well, we can't trust you. You're
control.
not competent
That's
enough.
right. You're just
Well, and they might actually be right. I mean, if you've made this thing so complicated, for instance, driverless vehicles. If I've set up a system for driverless vehicles, I don't want my Uncle Fred going in there and trying to tweak it. That could be, a life and safety issue. So certainly there are situations where the government usually mandates to say this can only be serviced by a certified technician, but it shouldn't be that it can only be serviced by John Deere. Now you've created this kind of monopoly of that kind of situation, and it shouldn't be the manufacturer who says that
Right.
is the
But
only
they don't
that's the
want anybody
requirement.
else to know their trade secrets. That's one of their arguments. Now, not in this country, but in the European Union, um, manufacturers of phones, tablets, and laptops are now facing legal obligations to make those products easier to repair and reuse so they can lengthen the life of the product. And so they don't end up with all that waste
Sure.
in the landfill. So that's one thing, and if they don't do it, then they face some kind of legal ramification. But you just wonder who's the laptop police, who's
Well,
monitoring
I
that.
mean, when we lived in France, I mean, shoot, they came and checked your garbage to see if you were sending any recyclables, in the wrong container. So some of these countries are a little bit better at enforcing rules. As the British would say, the nanny state is
Yes,
out there,
yes.
focused on your business. So
Well, one of the things that's also reported is that the big boys, Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Tesla Inc., have spent heavily on lobbyists to make a case that right to repair laws would expose their industry secrets and give third parties access to sensitive information and put the safety and security of consumers at risk. Now, I would like to know how
I want to put my safety and security in the hands of Facebook.
you do.
That's Do they have the same concern when they collect data about you and
Well,
or
that's
their
one of the
customers?
arguments there that why they keep, facing this having to
Well,
settle.
I guess I could see that there would be a big business if somebody could say, you know what? Bring your laptop into me and I'll turn off all of these monitoring devices and I'll ensure your privacy,
But
you
they can
know.
already do that, when they say
Well, sign me up.
they're going to download the newest whatever. What they're really doing is looking at what you're doing, and if you don't let them, so they send you a little note.
Who is they? Who
Oh,
is they?
like Apple or Dell or any of those companies that sell laptops that collect data, and they'll say, "Hey, we want to download this new thing to
Right,
update
right, right, right.
updates," they call it. But what
Yeah.
they're really doing, and it's so obvious,
Is this
is they're
going to be a
doing what
conspiracy
you just
theory?
did. No, they're looking at
All
your
right.
data. They're
Well, I
looking
know.
at what programs you're using, how you're using them,
I know.
when you're using them.
Well, they do
So
that on a real time basis. But one of the criticisms that I hear a lot with Windows, for example, is you can go in and set the privacy settings, and it's not so easy to do, but you can do it and say, I don't want you to do this. But then every time they update the software, they reset
yes,
it
that's right.
back
Yes.
to their default position, and then you've got to remember to go back in and do it. Well, that's annoying and it's, semi subversive, but the idea that they want to prevent you from fixing a thing seems like it's a step too far. It just
But they
feels.
prevent you from using some programs like they'll say, don't use Firefox for this because it won't work,
Yeah,
but Bing is the only one that works, and
yeah.
or you have to use this particular program for Microsoft or you can't access this information. They're already doing it. They're just a lot more subtle about it.
Okay, well, yeah, but now you've wandered off into the whole world of high tech annoyances as opposed to the right to repair. I'm going to focus you back into
Well,
there.
but the right to repair, it's the same kind of thing, though, when they're saying their argument against the right to repair is that we're taking away their right to control the data and the
Right, to
information.
do what they want to do unfettered from
That's
anybody
right.
else looking over their
And you're
shoulder.
paying them for the right to have it, but you're doing the same thing when you shop at Amazon, when you shop at Walmart. It's
Right.
all the same
Okay.
stuff.
All right. But let's not broaden it out into that. Let's again focus on, so what is the response? Where are we going with the whole right to repair thing? Is there serious legislation, or are the politicians
Yeah,
playing
they're
a
just
little
playing
game?
along because the lobbying, these corporations control the
So what's
government.
going to be the situation where folks, because the government, they're all politicians seem to be, where are the people going so I can
I'll
lead
tell
them
you where the
there?
people are going.
Yeah.
So we right now living in an environment that's pretending that everything's cool. And it is
Hmm.
cool for some people, but
Right.
it's not cool for a lot of people. And so people are starting to get the idea that I've got to reuse, I've got to repurpose. If I need something, my toaster broke, I'm going to put something out there to my buddies and say, you got a toaster? Because lots of people do that they never use. And then they're going to give me my toaster and I'll have a new toaster and I won't have to buy another one.
But you mentioned too about some groups that are coming together that say, okay, we're going to go ahead and repair these things. We now
Right.
have the knowledge. Let's do like a repair co-op kind of
Well, I think that's
situation.
happening in California. They always lead the way for all the revolution, and
At
so
least they like to think
no,
they
no,
do.
I think they
I think
tend to
there's
be.
3 people in Iowa that are really leading the way, and they're getting their
Well, they don't
cues.
get credit, so tough
Right.
tooties.
Uh-huh.
But I do think that as the economy drills down more and more and more, then I think that it drives the economy in people's lives to say, I maybe I don't really need this
Hmm.
thing. It broke and I can't get it fixed. So they're going to make decisions. And probably some of those decisions probably aren't that fair to their families, but other decisions, like they might say, well, I'm going to still have my, Netflix, blah, 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 on my special Bluetooth television. And then the Bluetooth television breaks. So they go buy another one. But for the most part, people are not in a financial position to be doing that in this economy now. And more, I think we're going to see people really drilling down and saying, I'm going to do without it, or I'm going to make do with something else, or I'm going to fix it myself. I'm going to throw it and run over it, whatever that
So the
is.
economics are going to drive
I
our
absolutely believe it.
behavior.
It's
It's
already
one thing
happening.
if you've got a $100 television and it breaks, well then you go buy another $100
Well, if you
television.
have a hundred
But if it's a
dollars,
$2,000 phone, and the day after the warranty expires, you're not allowed to fix it and it doesn't work anymore, well then people are going to hopefully have some common sense and say, no, this isn't
I don't think
acceptable.
it's about common sense. I think it's really about, do we make the house payment or the rent payment, or do we be able to buy our prescriptions, or do we get to eat? An example would be the studies are showing that people are not changing what they eat; they're just buying it in cheaper places.
Okie dokie. Well, you've been listening to When the Biomass Hits the Wind Turbine with Jay and Annie Warmke, coming to you live and very repairable from WOUB Radio in Athens, Ohio. You can find the video of this particular program and any show notes at bluerockstation.com. We want to thank our never needing repaired producer, Adam Rich. And we want to thank you for spending just a little bit of time with us. And as your grandmother hopefully told you, the secret to a happy and sustainable life is,
Play nice with others, clean up your own mess, and you can repair things.
and eat your vegetables. Till next time. Bye bye.